Hey guys, welcome back to Amanda's Corner podcast edition. So, last time I talked about the bright sides of having a disability. This time I'll be discussing the downsides, and trust me, there are plenty for me to talk about. Just bear with me because I could go on all day because a lot of what I want to talk about pisses me off to no end. So, first off, people will stare at you. It makes me very, very uncomfortable when people stare at me because, I realize that I look strange because I have a disability. Like, that's just something that people don't really understand, so they stare. So, the worst people that do this, though, are small children. I get that they don't understand what is wrong or they don't understand why it's not polite to stare, but it makes me even more uncomfortable in that situation because I can't just say, hey, can you please stop staring at me? Because they won't understand why I want them to stop. So I think it would be better if parents would teach their children why it is not polite to stare, whether at anybody, because it makes anyone uncomfortable. So, one kind of example of this is when I was in high school, I went on a choir trip to Minneapolis, and my one-on-one and I got into an elevator, and there was already like a little family inside of it. So we were using the elevator, and there's a little kid that was just stone cold staring at me. Didn't say anything, just stone cold staring at me. And the mom looks at the kid and said, if you're going to stare, at least say hi. My one-on-one and I appreciated that because, like I've said a million times already, it's really uncomfortable when people stare, whether you have a disability or not. So that was like the best way for a parent to handle that kind of situation is to explain to their child, if you're going to stare, at least say something. And please let it be nice too. And then there's those people who just do not give a damn about the existence of your disability. Because there were times where I'm trying to get through a doorway and people get really, really impatient. So they just step over me as if I was like a pole or something, or was like something in their way. So they just step over me. Or they just flat out don't really hold the door open. Like they'll see me, they'll see the chair, but they don't think of holding the door open. And especially if what really pisses me off is when I say, "Hey, can you please hold the door?" and they don't hold the door. That's just rude on a whole nother level. Whether you have a disability or not, that's just rude. You don't ignore someone when they ask you, "Hey, please hold the door." It's kind of like the same thing with elevators too, where they'll see me in the chair, and they see the amount of people that are already in the elevator. They still go into the elevator, even though it would have been a better idea if I went first and they could have waited. Another thing that irritates me about people just ignoring the existence of disabilities is when it comes to parking spots, especially if it's a van accessible parking spot. Okay, I'm just going to tell you how van accessible parking spots work. You know those diagonal lines next to a parking space? Those are for wheelchair lifts, ramps to go down on. So those are not spots. They are designated spots for wheelchair ramps to go down. And it's really, really hard to kind of get out or into my van if there's another vehicle in the spot where the ramp needs to go down on. So that's a thing that pisses me off. Another thing that I already made a video about is bathroom stalls. So you know when you go into a bathroom and there's a giant stall almost in most bathrooms there will be a giant stall on either next to the door or all the way on the other side of the bathroom? Yeah, that's a handicap stall. Unless all of the other stalls are taken, please do not use that handicap stall because it's really, really annoying when I need to pee and I can't go because there is someone in a handicap stall. And 9 times out of 10, when they come out of the stall, they clearly do not need to be using it to begin with. So I'm just gonna leave that as is. The last downside or pet peeve that I want to talk about is that you stick out like a sore thumb. This happens to me like quite often. And it's just like a little irritating, and like it's really embarrassing for me. And it might be embarrassing for other people too, but like if you have a disability, it can be more embarrassing. People will know who you are, but you have absolutely no idea who the hell they are. And I've been in that situations more times than I'm willing to admit. And this is kind of another little anecdote. I was with my sister, and we were going to go see the very last Harry Potter movie. She had seen it, but I had not. So what had happened was, it was like the end credits, so like the theater lights kind of turned on a little bit, but not enough for us to really see properly. And I'm there, like literally, like sticking my hands in my mouth, licking the butter off of my hands, as you do if you're eating really, really buttery popcorn. So I'm just going to town, like getting the butter off my hand. And then someone comes up to me, and he's like, "Hi, Amanda. I'm not sure if you remember me. My name's Connor. We went to middle school together. You were a few grades older than me." And he stuck his hand out, and I'm like, not sure what to do. Do I shake his hand after I licked the butter off my hand? So I just kind of wipe my hand off on my shirt and my pants, and I just kind of shake his hand afterwards, and he just left. And I just turned to my sister, and I didn't say this because I didn't want him to hear if he could hear me. So I just kind of just like, I have no idea who he is. And we just bust out laughing. It was really, really embarrassing. So now that I'm sure that I beat that horse to death, I just want to make it clear that I'm not saying that it's more of a bad thing to have a disability, because I did talk about more of the downsides and I talked about the good things about it. It's just like the downsides are just so there and you can't really do much about it. So yeah, those were my podcasts. I hope you guys enjoyed them, and I will see you guys back on screen.